Hi guys, we have done the second chapter as being the first chapter for you in class 11th. It dealt with the Mesopotamian civilization and the factors related to that. That's your very first chapter in class 11th, and we have done 8 question answers and innumerable MCQs, some sources, then one important map. So this is all we have done in your first chapter. Since your first theme stands deleted for this session, we have taken second chapter as your first chapter for this session. Now we are back with another very important lesson, and this lesson talks about an important empire which stood across 3 continents. So we are going to study about the Roman Empire, which covered almost the territory of most of Europe and part north of Africa and large part of Fertile Crescent. Fertile Crescent meaning, this is the area which includes Syria, some part of Syria, some parts of Saudi Arabia and Turkey, all these areas. So we will be seeing this in a map in a very short while. So it that means it include not the entire 3 continents, but some parts of the territories belonging to 3 different continents. That is the meaning of the empire across 3 continents. So in this chapter, we will be studying about how this empire was organized, how the political forces that shaped its destiny, the social groups into which the people were divided, and all this we will be studying. And this empire embraced a wealth of local cultures and languages. And women had lot of legal position in this, and they were given a lot of freedom. And slaves denied freedom, and how this empire on from 5th century onwards, how it fell down, and how but remained intact. Even it was there, but it lost their power to another very important empire coming up, caliphate, that is Islamic rule. So we'll be studying about that in the next chapter. But up to the social structure, the administration, then the culture that it had embraced, and the power it had given to women and other society, and all that we will be studying. The position of a slave in the kingdom, everything we'll be studying about all this in this chapter. This is for you to just introduction, not to learn anything, but yeah, of course you have to read. Okay, questions can come for 1 marker. See, the Roman historians, they have studied about, and they have given enough and more resources to us from these things. They have collected from texts, documents, and material remains. These are the 3 sources they have, and they divide this into 3 groups: texts, documents, and material remains. Okay, so most of the texts are written, some of them are oral. Okay, so text written text they have for their proof resources, and they have documents also. Include the many documents include inscriptions and the papyri. What is this papyri? Papyri, it is inscription. It is it is a paper. It is taken from papyrus reed like plant that grows on the banks of river Nile in Egypt. Okay, so once it is processed to produce a writing material that was widely used in everyday life. So this papyri kind of writing which is done from this papyrus प्लांट से जो राइटिंग मटेरियल इंक बनता था, उसी से ये नाम आया उसको पैपरी. ओके, सो फॉर यू टू जस्ट those who do this, the scholars are called as papyrologists. So okay, so please, 1 marker के लिए मैंने I just wanted to bring to your notice for your knowledge also. You should know what is papyri and papyrus and papyrologist. All this you should know. Fine. So please read for your knowledge. Now we are getting into the chapter. We are just reading the introduction of it, and any 1 marker can turn up in this. But I will frame the question whenever the question emerges. Otherwise, just whatever we are discussing, it is for 1 marker. If I don't frame the question, that means that is important from the point of view of 1 marker. If I frame a question, then that is important from the point of view of 1 marker as well as question answers, 3 marker or 8 marker question answers. So You should look into the chapter from that perspective. If I frame a question, then that is important from the point of view of both one marker as well as question answers. If I don't frame, then it is important from the point of view of one marker only, not the question answer. Now, two powerful empires ruled over this Europe, North Africa, and Middle East in this during this period of time between birth of Christ and the early part of 7th century. So between, okay, that is after Christ, from up to 7th century, 700 years, tak, two important powerful empires that ruled all three continents. Two empires were a Roman Empire and Iranian Empire. Very, very important. These are the two empires that were ruling for almost 700 years, up to 6,630 AD tak. Okay, I think I have told you how to calculate BC and AD. After Christ, it is the normal year, common era. We have to CE, that is common era. After Christ, we are going forward in counting. So from the Christ birth of Christ to the 7th century, two powerful empires ruled in all three continents: Roman Empire and Iranian Empire. The Roman Empire and Iranian were rivals and fought against each other for of their history, for much of their history. Their empires lay next to each other, separated by just a narrow strip of land that is near the river Euphrates. So, in दोनों के बीच में जो boundary line है, not a big boundary line, they have very narrow strip of land near the river Euphrates. We studied about this chapter. In this chapter, we will be focusing more on Roman Empire, but we will have in passing, we will have some reference to the Iranian Empire. Okay, if you look at this map, you will come to know this map tells you how vast is the empire, Roman Empire is. If you see this map, you have in the north you have Rhine River and Danube River that forms no, that is the boundary line of northern boundary, you can call it. And you have Sahara Desert in the southern side. Southern side you have Sahara Desert as the boundary. Then you have Atlantic Ocean this side to the west. You have to the east you have Black Sea, and here you have Mediterranean Sea as the end, Damascus and Antioch. Then you have Euphrates River, Euphrates also nearby. So this is how this empire is all together geographically classified into. Now now what we are seeing in the map, we are going to see in this paragraph written. You will see the continents of Europe, Africa are separated by a sea called Mediterranean Sea. Okay, this is the main sea, that is a sea that separates Europe and Africa. Okay, and this sea is the heart of Rome's empire. You should know, which is known as the heart of Rome's empire, Roman Empire. That is Mediterranean Sea. Very important. Rome dominated the Mediterranean and all the regions around the sea in both directions, north as well as south. Okay, all the areas. You know where is Rome? Rome, if you do not know, Rome is located here. Actually, it is part of Italy, and it is the capital of Italy. And this is Rome. Okay, Rome is located here in the map. If you can see, this just near to Naples. Then you have Rome here. Adriatic Sea is here. Adriatic Sea. Then you have Aegean Sea here. Okay, then Mediterranean Sea becomes the part of it. Okay, and you have Black Sea. Then after Black Sea is the Caspian Sea, which is supposed to be here, but here this map it is not shown. But last lesson we have seen this Black Sea, Caspian Sea, and and all that. Okay, Red Sea also it is down. Then you have some more places, very important places you should note down. This map is very important from the point of view of map work के लिए ये बहुत important है. It is the second map that you need to focus more attention to. So this is very important. You have Tripolitania, it is here just above Sahara Desert, Tripolitania. Then you have Cyrenaica, you have then Alexandria, you have Damascus, Antioch. Then you have Ephesus, Constantinople. Then you have Hipponium. Okay, then Annapolis, Rome. Then you have here to the west most, that is Tangiers, you have in Africa. Tangiers, these are some of the places. Rome, yes, of course, Rome is very important. Then you have Carthage here, Tunisia के ऊपर थोड़ा थोड़ा ध्यान देना. There's a corner you have Carthage. So these are some of the places which you need to give more attention to when it comes to map marking. And even in the lesson it will come. Gaul, Okay, Gaul area both important. Then you have Hispania. Hispania is the place where people speak Spain. Okay, Spanish. When this people speaking Spanish are called as Hispania. Okay, so Mediterranean Sea fully controlled, dominated both the side north and south by Rome completely. Then to the north, the boundaries of the empire are found by two great rivers called Rhine and Danube. I told you and I showed you. To the south, you have huge expanse of the Sahara Desert. Okay, that is the boundary line in the south. That the vast stretch of the territory was the Roman Empire. Iran controlled. This is no. Then I told you, western side you have no Atlantic Ocean, whereas the eastern side the boundary line is not no compartmentally very clear. No, we don't have any right and cut clear boundary in the eastern side. Very small stretch of land, no, which clear, which tells, which marks the boundary line between the Iranian Empire and the Roman Empire. So not much is given in the east. Now you have, this is about what Roman Empire controlled. Now, Iranian Empire controlled the whole area south of Caspian Sea. You have Caspian Sea here. After Black Sea, you have next to Black Sea, you have Caspian Sea. So we the areas to the south of Caspian Sea, to the eastern Arabia. Okay, almost Arabian Isle. This one. Saudi Arabia, so us taraf Iran, Iraq, even sometimes some parts of Afghanistan also controlled by Iranian Empire. So this is how both the empires control their areas. Now these two superpowers are divided up the most of the world that Chinese called as Ta Chin. Now Chinese people, they called that these two superpowers are divided the areas of the world. At that time, this was the world. Actually, by this time, neither Indus Valley civilization, neither nor America, all these areas were not known to the world. What was known to the world by this time is these two superpowers, and these are the two empires. So they have divided the most of the world into their territories, and Chinese people called these as the Ta Chin. Ta Chin matlab the west, greater Chin, or greater Chin, or the west. They called this as the greater Chin. Okay, these two superpowers, the world area where the area which they got divided among themselves, called by the Chinese is Tachin. Okay, so that is all about a brief introduction about we can say geographical structure, or you can say how the territories divided between the Roman Empire and Iranian Empire. So anything related to their geography, anything related to their domination of power or the territory that they hold. So this is how we have to explain. I don't think so. I may ask any question on this, but for your knowledge, you should know all this. And one marker में हम आपको twist करेंगे. I will be asking some of the questions in a very twisted manner. If you get some of my previous year question papers from your seniors, you will come to know how twisted the MCQs become. And CBSE expects you to be in such a caliber manner. Fine, we are into the next very important topic, the early empire. For this first two paragraphs we will not hold any question. Third paragraph से question frame करेंगे हम. उससे पहले हम first two paragraphs को हम फटाफट देख लेंगे for from the point of view of one marker. The Roman Empire can be broadly divided into two phases. One is early phase, the other one is late phase. Now, third century becomes that watershed. Watershed means something that divides two things. Okay, so third century is the historical watershed between them. So before third century, that is first and second century, is called as the early phase of Roman Empire. Then after the third century, up to 630. 630 is the year which everything fell down. The Roman Empire came to a standstill. So after the third century is called as the late phase. The third century becomes a watershed, very very important. In other words, the whole period down the main part of third century can be called as the early, and the period after that called as late empire. Fine. The major difference between these two superpowers and the respective empires was the Roman. This is the major. One marker में अगर पूछा, what is the major difference between these two empires? This is the major difference. Roman Empire was culturally much more diverse than that of Iran. Very very important. Culturally culturally Roman Empire was much more diverse than that of Iran, whereas Iran had only two people, two dynasties ruled Iran, that is Parthians and Sassanians. These are the two groups, the dynasties that ruled in Iran in this period. Almost population that was largely Iranian only, not mixed group. So whereas Iranian Empire fully Iranian, largely, not all of them, largely Iranian, whereas Roman Empire, अगर वन मार्कर में ये क्वेश्चन आया तो आपको बस कल्चरली मच मोर डाइवर्स देन दैट ऑफ ईरान इतना ही लिखना है, बाकी सब एक्सप्लेनेशन नहीं देना है. Whereas Roman Empire, by contrast, was a mosaic, means different territories and cultures that were chiefly bound together by a common system of government. So many territories and so many cultures, and it was bound by one common system called government. Many languages are spoken, whereas there only Iranian language. Here, no spoken only, many languages, but for the purpose of administration, it was Latin and Greek. Okay, so they are called the only languages. Which are the languages called as the only languages? They are Latin and Greek. One marker. फिर से मैं questions वहीं पढ़ाते समय questions बता देता हूँ, तो उसका language बदल सकता है लेकिन answer वही होगा. Okay. So the only languages. So there are so many languages spoken in the empire, but for the administration purpose, it was only Latin and Greek which was widely used, and they are called as the only languages. The upper classes of the eastern side में जो upper classes है वो लोग Greek बोलते थे, west side में जो upper classes है वो Latin बोलते थे. The boundary between these two broad languages areas ran somewhere across the middle of the Mediterranean Sea between African. ये सब आप बोल सकते हो, you need not worry about all this. The areas are mentioned here. Tripolitania, and Tripolitania is a Latin speaking. ये थोड़ा important है, note कर लेना, match the following में आ सकता है. Then you have Cyrenaica, Greek speaking area. Okay, they are all there just above the desert, Sahara desert के आसपास इस area में. These are North African provinces. You have all those who lived in the empire were subjects to a single ruler called the emperor. Okay, so this is very important. Whether they speak Latin, whether they speak Green, whether they speak any other different languages, no matter, nothing matters. What matters is they are all subject to one single ruler called the emperor, regardless where they lived and what language they spoke. Very, very important. So this is just a brief introduction about you know the Roman Empire was culturally much more diverse than that of Iran. Okay, so why it was much more diverse than that of Iran? Because so many languages, so many territories, and they all spoke but they all bound by one common system called government. And for that, see, many languages spoken, but the administration purpose के लिए Latin और Greek को ही use करते थे, और उसको हम the only languages के नाम पे भी हम उसको जानते हैं. And the upper classes, the yes, they spoke, and all that you can forget about. What you have to remember is Tripolitania is the place where Latin is widely spoken, and Cyrenaica is the place where Greek widely spoken. And no matter whether you belong to this territory, that territory, no matter what language you spoke, but what matters is you all are subjects to a single ruler called the emperor. Okay, fine. So this is all about the introduction, again from the point of view of MCQs. So far what we have discussed in last 15 to 18 minutes is nothing but only MCQs and a map. Only just MCQs, one marker or the map. Question answers अभी तक आपके कॉपी में लिखने के लिए हमने अभी तक कुछ डिस्कस नहीं किया. The first question will be, let me before the first question, let me just tell you the background in which we are going to study. See, before this 27 BC, before Common Era, that is just before 27 years before the birth of Jesus Christ. 27 years before the birth of Jesus Christ, up to that time, in Roman Empire, on that, in Rome, it was the republic which was in place. Republic meaning the head of the government or head of the state is elected by the people. So republic was in place. Now in 27 BC, for the first time, the person called, where is that? Octavian. Okay, I'm reading from just the left side corner. अब अगर मैंने यहाँ पे highlight किया है Octavian. So in 27 BC, Octavian was a person who overthrew this republic system, and he implemented for the first time the emperorship, and he allowed to this emperor should be a dynasty. It should be taken by the family, the family rule. One person, Octavian, becomes the emperor and his son becomes the other emperor. So it was not republic, but it becomes a dynasty rule, a family rule like. So he somewhat abolished a republic and introduced a dynasty rule. So this is the thing that from here we are going to study about the dynasty rule, because the republic is being abolished by Octavian. Who is this Octavian? Octavian is an adopted son, is the adopted son and heir to Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar का adopted son है, and he who later changed his name to Augustus. Here it is. The regime, this regime, Roman Empire regime, is being established by Augustus, who is the first emperor, who was called as the Principate. Who is called as the Principate? It is the Augustus. अगर ऑप्शन में अगस्टस है, वेल एंड गुड. अगर ऑप्शन में ऑक्टेवियन है तो भी वो सही है. अगर ऑप्शन में अगस्टस और ऑक्टेवियन दोनों है और आंसर बोथ है. So you should know you have to think and answer. If you read this, you will all, of course, you will think. Now he has changed the name. Membership of the Senate was for life, wealth, and office holding counted for many more than birth. So now here we have three important institutions in Roman Empire. We have the emperor, we have the Senate, we have the army. These are the three important institutions in Roman Empire. So we are going to study about all these three. The question is this. What is the question? Please note down the question. Question is, the emperor, aristocracy, and army were the three main players in the political history of the Roman Empire. Comment, explain, elucidate, anything you can write. Okay, the emperor, the aristocracy meaning the Senate, aristocracy meaning the Senate. So the emperor, the aristocracy, and the army were the three main players in the political history of Roman Empire. Explain. So this is the long answer. So we are going to answer this. We are going to answer this. Fine. So the answer starts from here. The regime, this regime, Roman Empire regime, established by Augustus, the first emperor, who is also called as the Principate. Although Augustus was the sole ruler and the only real source of authority, the fiction was kept alive, and he was actually only the leading citizen, not the absolute ruler. You have to make this point very very clear. ये आपको समझना बहुत जरूरी है. वो fiction है कि वो एक sole ruler है और वो leading citizen है, and he is the real authority. All that are fiction. But what is real is he is not the absolute ruler, because he has to get the support of the Senate also. That's a Senate which is helping the ruler, emperor, to rule the empire. So Senate is also equally important like of that of emperor. So that is the meaning of this. Leading citizen in Latin में उसको हम princeps कहते हैं. Please underline this also. Okay. So this was done. Why this is done? This was done out of respect for the Senate, the body which they had control earlier. Okay. See, earlier Senate was controlling. When Republic was in place before 27 BC, जब Octavian इसको overtake नहीं किया, उससे पहले Republic rule था, और Republic rule was controlled by Senate. Senate was the main body, not the emperor. But here, सिंस सेनेट earlier भी मतलब पहले बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट थे, इसलिए उनको इम्पोर्टेंस देने के लिए इन्होंने एम्परर को एब्सोल्यूट रूलर नहीं बताया, उनको अभी भी उतना ही रेस्पेक्ट दे रखे. द सेनेट that had existed Rome for centuries had been remained as a body of representing the aristocracy. Okay, who are the senates? Senates are the wealthiest families. Okay, we are into the senates now. Families of Rome, later Italian descent, mainly landowners. These are the senate people. Senates में उन्हीं को place मिलता है जो wealthiest families के होने चाहिए और Italian descent होना चाहिए. They should be from the familial relationships of Italy. Then they should be landowners. They should have more and more land with them. And most of the Roman histories that survive in Greek and Latin in Latin were written by these people. Senatorial background से ही लिखा जाता है. From these, it is clear that the emperors were judged by how they behaved towards the Senate. Emperors अगर successful हैं, it depends on how they behaved with the Senate. The worst emperors were those who were hostile to the senatorial class, behaving with suspicion or brutality and violence. Many senators earned to go back to those days of, but most of them have realized that this is not possible. Earlier sentence आप छोड़ सकते हैं क्योंकि many senators they wanted to go back to those days of republic. जब republic था वैसे ही दिन देखना चाहते थे, लेकिन वो इतना आसान नहीं है because so powerful now. Emperor is so powerful, having huge army, so they cannot on a single handedly they cannot decide for anything. So emperor is also equally powerful. So what I am trying to tell is, if the emperor is able to make the senate no, aristocracy or the senate happy, then he is going to be successful in his administration. If he is not having good terms with the senate, then he is not going to be a successful emperor in the history down. So the history will speak somebody of his success. It depends on the Senate's support. So this is how the Roman Empire's system goes about. So in this paragraph, we have discussed about the emperor and we have also discussed about the Senate. So 2 points for emperor, 2 points for Senate. Take the most important point, which I have highlighted and given importance to. Okay. Um, let me revise now. Tell you again what are the points that you need to write here. The regime established by Augustus is the first emperor, and he is called the Principate. And he is not the sole ruler and absolute ruler, because he is just a leading citizen. Because there's a Senate which is also equally important. Okay, and Senate is full of wealthiest families of Rome, wealthiest families of Roman and later even Italian descent. First Rome से ही लेते थे, बाद में Italy पूरा Italy का ही लेते थे. Then and they should be landowners. And most of the histories we have about Rome were written from the background, senatorial background only. So that shows how much powerful they are. It is clear that the emperors were judged by how they behave towards the Senate. Senate ये emperor successful है, अच्छा Senate है, वो sorry अच्छा emperor है कि नहीं है, कैसे पता चलेगा कि उसका behavior Senate के साथ कैसे है. अरिस्टोक्रेसी लोगों के साथ कैसे है, इसी से डिपेंड डिपेंड होता है. एंड इफ दे आर नॉट, देन दे आर नो हॉस्टाइल और दे आर लुक्ड विद सस्पिशन एंड ऑल दैट. फाइन. So next to the emperor and the senate, the other key institution of the imperial rule was the army. The army, the third main player in the Roman history, is the army. Unlike the army of its rival means Persian Empire. Persian Empire, another name for Iranian Empire only. Please underline this. Okay, Persian Empire is the another name for Iranian Empire. Whereas Iranian army जो होता है वो conscripted होता है. Iranian army is a conscripted army. What is conscripted army? It is the army in which I am reading from the left side of box में है, box नहीं है, left side facts में. It's an army which is forcefully recruited. Military service is compulsory for the certain groups and categories of the population. Whether you like or don't like, you have to come and serve the army. Forcefully recruited, and they are not given any advantages to serve in the army. Whereas Romans had paid the professional army, where the soldiers had to put in a minimum of 25 years of service, and if they join they have to, not with force, if they join they have to give 25 years of service, and they are paid for that. Indeed, the existence of paid army was a distinct feature of Roman Empire. Very, very important. Okay, the existence of paid army. Actually, by this time, nobody thought about paying the army. They thought, no, army is full of slaves. People forcefully recruited and put in the army to fight for their cause. But whereas Roman Empire is giving importance to the army, building up an army with paying them with a heavy price, heavy salary, so that they can they can give their valuable service to the emperor. So the army was the largest single organized body of almost 6 lakh by the 4th century. It certainly had the power to determine the fate of the emperors also. इतना power उनके पास था कि they can decide the fate of the emperors. who can be our emperor, whether this emperor is disliked by the senate. If the senate is having the support of the army, they can overthrow the emperor. If the emperor is happy and able to hold power over the army, and they can kill any senate, any senatorian and all that. So this is how it all goes about. If you have watched web series in Netflix, Spartacus. Spartacus करके एक web series है. If you have watched it, you will come to know the Roman history so well. It is of no 4 or 5 seasons. It takes a lot of time to watch, but no, that clearly portrays the way the Roman Empire um acts, and how they behave, and the way of life and all that. So so this is, this army is the most important, and the distinctive feature of the army is the existence of payment. Okay, fine. The soldiers would constantly agitate for better wages and service conditions. There would be some strikes and all that. These agitations often took the form of some mutinies. Some mutinies meaning giving a tough fight. A revolt, like mutiny means revolt. If the soldiers felt let down by the generals or even the emperor, they can go for the mutiny, they can go for the revolt. Again, our picture of the Roman army depends largely on the way they were portrayed by the historians with the senatorial sympathies. Depends how the historians portray this army's problems. Okay, and senatorians only help these historians. Okay, the Senate hated a sentence, Bhutana important nahi, you can leave this. Okay. The Senate hated and feared the army because it was a source of an unpredictable violence. Okay. Anytime the army will turn against any senatorian. So Senate was not always happy with, they were always in fear whether this army is going to be one with them or not. Especially these conditions of third century when the government was forced to tax more heavily, and that time more all that. Okay, leave that. So up to here, if the soldiers were felt down by the generals, they can take the mutinies. And the senate hated and feared army because it was a source of an unpredictable violence, especially यहाँ तक लिखो. Okay, यहाँ तक ये last sentence लिखो. So 2 points emperor, 3 points in senate, and 3 points in army. So 8 points you have to please note down. 2 points for emperor, 3 points for Senate. What are the 3 points for Senate? Senate 3 points है. एक है कि the Senate existed in Rome for centuries, and wealthiest families वो वाला. And second, Romans, most of the Roman history survive with the senatorial background वो वाला. Third point, the emperors were judged how they behaved and all that. That's the third point. Now army, you have a lot of points. No, first very important is unlike the Persian army which is conscripted, whereas Roman army had paid very well, and that is a distinctive feature of the Roman Empire. First point. Second, single largest body having almost 6 lakh certainly, and decide the fate of the empires. And the soldiers would constantly agitate for the better wages, and even agitation when they are led down by the generals or the emperor. And the last, this one. Fine. So this is all about the long answer. That is the emperor, aristocracy, army were the three main players in the political history of the Roman Empire. We have done the first question for this lesson. Fine. Now we are going to see some of the facts, which are very important from the point of view of one marker, not from the point of view of question answer. Okay. The success of the individual empires depend on their control of the army. When the armies were divided, the result was also a civil war. Army divide हो गया, तो ये point भी आप उसमें add कर सकते हो. बहुत important लग रहा है मेरे को, अच्छा point है ये. Army में include कर सकते हो. The success of individual emperors depended on their control of the army. If the army is divided, then civil war. Civil war, what is different? Civil war. Civil war refers to the armed struggles for the power within the same country. Very, very important. Civil war. Civil war. What is civil war? Can be a question in your one marker. It is an armed struggle for power within the same country. In contrast to conflicts between different countries. That is not a civil war. That is international war. Civil war is within a country. Okay. So except for one notorious year, that is very important one marker year, 1 year, that is 69 CE, that is after birth of Christ ke baad 69 years, 69th year, when four emperors mounted to the throne in quick succession. So 1 year, एक साल में 4 emperor. No, the reason is maybe one is killed, the other one came, the other one killed, no, like that. So 1 year witnessed four. So which year in Roman history witnessed four emperors in a quick succession can be a one marker, very very important one marker. The first 2 centuries were on the whole the free of all. First 2 centuries, the early phase में जो first 2 centuries है उसमें it was all free of civil war and even sense of relatively very stable rule was there. Succession to the throne was based as far as possible the family descent, either natural or adoptive. Okay, so first 2 centuries, 200 years, except that 69th year को छोड़ के बाकी सब बढ़िया बढ़िया चल रहा था, free of civil war, full of peace and stability. Okay, and the succession was based on the family only, natural son or adoptive son. Even the army was strongly wedded to the principle, that is principate, the emperor. For example, Tiberius in no 14 to 37 CE, for almost how many years? 20, almost 17 plus 6, 23 years he was ruling. The second in the long line of Roman empires was not natural son of Augustus. He was a second in the long run. मतलब सबसे 27, 20, almost 17 plus 6, 23 years long service he had, second one in the line. So he was just the successor of Principate, this Augustus, but he was not a natural son of Augustus. Augustus adopted him to ensure the smooth transition. Okay, smooth transition. Power दूसरों के हाथ में बहुत बिना सिविल वॉर के, बिना कोई लड़ाई के पावर को दूसरों को देना है. And he did not have a natural son. So Augustus adopted a son whose name is Tiberius, who took over from him. And this why he did this, just to ensure that smooth transition period. So all these are very important from one marker point of view. Okay, the external warfare was also much less common in the first 2 centuries. Okay, externally, Iranian did not give tough fight to Roman empires in the first 2 centuries. The empire inherited by Tiberius from Augustus was already so vast. Okay, so Tiberius को पास जो मिला था territory both already both vast था, because Augustus had occupied lot of place. And in fact, Augustinian age is remembered for peace, and it assured in after decades of internal strife and all that, military internal strife and all that. So military conquest. So Augustine age is remembered for the peace. He has led the Roman Empire with full stability. There is no time for any kind of internal strife. There is no any time of military conquest and all that. The only major campaign that he had was with the Trajan's fruitless occupation of territory across the one person, one Iranian king called Trajan. Trajan came and occupied across the Euphrates some years, no, some places he occupied, and later on it was abandoned by his successors. So Trajan was the only king during this Augustus time. Trajan was the only Iranian emperor who entered into Roman territory and occupied some places, and which was later lost by his successors. Fine. So that is all. That is about some some more points to be remembered. Augustine age is remembered for peace, and there was no much internal strife and military conquest from outside. Also, the only major campaign of expansion in the early empire. Now we are studying about the early empire. The Roman Empire is divided into two: the early and the late. Now we have in the early empire, it was all about Augustus and Tiberius and all these people, important ones. And during this time, it was all about peace and stability. Now, this source talks about Trajan's dream. Trajan's dream was to conquest of India. He wanted to go beyond this Indus River, Afghanistan ke baad Indus River, and there is a place called India. He had heard about all this Indus Valley civilization and all that. So he wanted to. He had the dream of conquering India. So this source talks about, this is taken from a Roman Near East, the Fergus Miller करके एक writer है, and he is writing in his book called the Roman Near East. And in that book he is mentioning that after a winter in 115 16 year in Antioch, not very clear which year it is, Antioch, marked by a great earthquake in 116. Trajan marched down when there was earthquake in Antioch. He marched down the Euphrates and went to Ctesiphon, that is a Parthian's capital at that time, and he went to even the Persian Gulf because earthquake took place. So slowly he marched downwards. Persian Gulf तक गया और वहाँ पे उसने he saw that a very big merchant ship, a merchant ship was setting off for India. India की तरफ एक merchant ship जा रहा था, and he was looking at it, and he was thinking that if I were to be so young like Alexander, I can also go and conquer India. By this time, Trajan was very old. So that is why a historian called Cassius Dio, that is a historian who is describing him as a person. He is looking there. वो मन ही मन सोच रहा है कि मुझे भी जाना चाहिए. तो कैसियस ने उसको देखा और उसको देख के ऐसा डिस्क्राइब किया. Is describing Trajan like a person looking longly at a merchant ship setting off to India and wishing to himself that if he were to if he were as young as Alexander, he will go to conquer India through this ship. Okay, so this is about Trajan's dream. Okay, conquering India. It's a source to be learned, to be read for you again and again. Okay, so much more characteristic was gradual extension of Roman direct rule. This was accomplished by absorbing a whole series of dependent kingdoms into Roman provincial territory. The Near East was full of such kingdom. Okay, Near East means near to eastern side में थोड़ा आसपास में इनका जो areas Roman territory का जो बहुत ही near में है east and eastern areas. Near East was full of such kingdoms like the early second century was laid Euphrates towards Roman territory has disappeared, swallowed up by Rome. So all the areas which was near the Euphrates was swallowed slowly by Rome. Incidentally, some of these kingdoms were exceedingly wealthy for Herod's. Herod's kingdom is in it is in Turkey. Okay, Herod in sorry, it is in Egypt. Okay, Egypt rule. Herod is a king in Egypt. So his kingdom was also absorbed by the Romans, and considered this kingdom is considered to be so much rich, wealthy kingdom, and it had almost 5.4 million denarii per year they have to pay to these people because they have taken them as their in their control. So equal to almost one lakh 25,000 kilo of gold. Denar, very important one marker. Denarius was a Roman silver coin containing almost 4.4 gram of pure silver. Denari is the currency used by Romans. Okay, and it is a silver coin. And one silver coin is of 4.5 gram. Okay, not a kilogram. It is gram of pure silver. So this is the one only one marker which is very important. बाकी सब आप just our Herod is the Egypt king. वो भी आपको important नहीं है, but you should know this. Okay, this denarius and it's a silver coin. In fact, इस पैराग्राफ में केवल एक लाइन इंपॉर्टेंट है, बाकी आप you can leave them. Okay, you can underline, just underline this line. Fine, then we are into the next. Okay, the emperor, all the territories was organized into provinces. Okay, the whole territory was organized into provinces and subject to taxation. So there are different provinces like Gaul province, like you had Carthage province, you had Alexandria province, you had no Cyrenaica province, then you have Tripolitania province. So many provinces, and the provinces were divided and organized in such a way that they have to collect taxes from the people and give it to the Roman emperor. So this is how it is all done. Okay, I am just now making you to underline some important lines only, not all the lines. Okay, this is we are doing it for from the MCQ's point of view only, not for question answers. Fine. We are leaving about all this, coming to directly to this source, Dr. Galen on how Roman cities treated the countryside. See, Roman cities, whenever famine takes place in many successive years, famines आते रहते हैं. तो इसलिए क्या करते हैं, cities में जो लोग रहते हैं, city dwellers, they used to go to the countryside villages, कलेक्ट ऑल द हार्वेस्ट, वीट, बार्ले, बीन्स, लेंटिल्स, जो भी है पेसेंट्स के पास जो भी है सब कुछ खरीद के कलेक्ट करके आ जाते हैं, एंड दे स्टोर इट इन द सिटी, and they know whenever the famine takes place they have enough and more to eat for at least 1 year, the next 1 year, whereas the country people, village people, they are left with nothing but to eat the unhealthy foods in the spring, like they eat the twigs, shoots, even of the trees, bushes, and bulbs, roots. Some inedible plants also they eat. So this is how the countryside people treated by the Roman cities. The countryside people were treated very badly by the Roman cities, and the Roman city people always had advantage in during the famine and all that. Now another very important fact is here: the public path is a very striking feature of Roman urban life. So urban life city में लोग एक public place होते हैं where they used to have a common bath, where Iranian ruler, when he tried to introduce the same in Iran, he was encountered by the wrath of the clergy there. The clergy meaning the religious people. Religious people condemned this because according to them water is considered to be very very sacred, and they cannot use this water for public bathing and all that. So we cannot have this kind of, and it is a very desecration, the insult to the gods, and water is considered to be sacred according to Iranian tradition. And urban population also enjoyed much higher level of entertainment. So it's urban population which had a lot of advantage in Roman cities. Villages struggled like anything. Okay, so that is all about okay, enjoyed. And for example, one calendar tells us that spectacular shows, show filled with no less than 170 days of the year. So this is about, you can leave this fact also, not so important. So public bath, then this source, then you can leave this paragraph, and then you have directly this denaris. We talked about denaris. Okay, so that is the last fact we talked here. Then we went to talk about the source and the um, public path. Okay, so I think we have done the first topic, that is the question and some MCQs. Now we are into the next very important question, that is why 3rd century is considered to be a watershed century in Roman history. Why is the 3rd century is considered to be a watershed? Yeah, describe the 3rd century crisis. Any question? Okay, describe the 3rd century crisis. 3rd century is the watershed year, the watershed century in Roman history. We studied this. Why it is so? The first 2 centuries were by and large a period of very peaceful and prosperity and economic expansion, where 3rd century brought about so many internal strain and external strain both. Okay, it had internal as well as external. From 230s, the emperor founded itself fighting several fronts simultaneously. No frontiers के साथ बहुत लड़ाई in Iran. A new, more aggressive dynasty emerged in 2025, and they called themselves as Sassanians. So in 2025, a new groups, Parthians के बाद a new groups. Parthians were ruling up to 2025. After Parthians, Sassanians took over as their no, they became the rulers. So they were no more aggressive and more hostile groups, and they wanted to expand their territory. So they were expanding rapidly in the direction of Euphrates. In a very famous rock inscription in 3 languages, it is there. So Shapur I is the Iranian Sassanian ruler that time. Shapur I, he claimed that he had annihilated means killed almost 60,000 Roman army soldiers, and even captured the eastern capital of Antioch. Antioch तक इन्होंने अपना campaign लेके गए और Antioch तक इन्होंने capture किया. So Sapur I is the person, he gave a tough fight to Roman empires and almost killed 60,000 soldiers. Meanwhile, this is the first no first reason why 3rd century was considered to be a crisis one. First reason, okay, it was a frontier friend, from boundary side, on the boundary line we had a fight from the Sassanian group. Meanwhile, a whole series of Germanic tribes, it is on the almost northwestern side, Gaul area, that German side. Germanic tribes of confederation, mostly they are Alemanni, Franks, and Goths. Alemanni, Franks, and Goths. So Alemanni, Franks, and Goths began to move against the Rhine and the Danube frontiers. So in the north side we have these two frontiers. There This is the internal strife. People belonging to Roman Empire, group Germanic, some tribal people started confronting with the Roman Empire. The whole period between 233 to 280, those saw repeated invasions of the whole area, and it was attacked every now and then. The Romans were forced to abandon much of the territory beyond Danube, and while the emperors of this period constantly in the field against the Romans called barbarians, these people, three tribal people, they are called barbarians, uncivilized people, started attacking the Roman Empire and taking more and more the territories of the Roman Empire. The succession of the empires in the third century, 25 emperors and 47 years, almost. So this is how, this itself gives us this clear-cut signal that Roman Empire was having a very tough time. In 47 years, may 25 emperors change away because they are all murdered and some other things happened. So it is a obvious symptom that the strains faced by the empire during this period. This is an obvious symptom that we can have. That is 25 emperors in 47 years. So one from Iranian Sasanian ruler, the other from the inside the Germanic tribal people, Alemanni and Franks and Goths, who started attacking the frontier line of Rhine and the Danube rivers, and getting into forged intrusion into the Roman territories, and conquering more and more areas, which left a lot of vacuum among the Roman empires and changing the emperors very frequently. Fine, so they were all considered to be barbarians by the Romans. Thus, this century faced a lot of crisis, and this is a very important question. Describe the third century crisis. Fine. So in this class, in this session, we have discussed one long answer and one short answer, two sources, and the rest all MCQs and one map. So I think that's enough for today and for this session. Till I see you in the next, all of you take care. Bye bye.